Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's at the top of the hour, and I don't want to waste any time. Today, we're going to be talking about the advantages of switching to QuickBooks Online. My name is Jason Ruvault. I've been a QuickBooks Online instructor for about 9 years now, going on 10 in May. And you might recognize my voice from some of the built-in videos that are within QuickBooks itself. We just started making some desktop videos, which is great. I write a lot of the built-in help videos, and I do a lot of the voice work for those. And I also co-wrote and co-produced a lot of the videos that are available in Priority Circle if you're an enterprise user or if you are currently using QuickBooks Online Advanced. And that's me. That's I'm happy just to be able to teach webinars because I don't get to teach these very often. I usually end up making videos and writing scripts and things like that. So it's kind of nice to be able to teach people outside of a video, of course. Now, we're going to be talking about the advantages of QuickBooks Online. And some of you may be currently desktop users, whether you're using Pro, Premier, Enterprise Solutions. Naturally, QuickBooks Online looks very different. And this is what it looks like. If you haven't ever seen it before, it's got a nav bar over here on the left. And then very similar actually to desktop, you've got this sort of center space that gives you a kind of a readout, gives you different various meters and graphs to look at concerning your business. And you'll also see some bank accounts and some credit card accounts and the balances over there on the right. Now, we're going to be using QuickBooks Online a lot throughout this class, and I just wanted to sort of ground us to let you know what it is that we're going to be working in. But I might switch back and forth here and there between QuickBooks Online and Desktop just to demonstrate the differences between the two of them. So let's dig in to just broad categories of what it is we'll talk about today. Obviously, we're going to get very specific as we go through, but these are just the broad categories or buckets that I'm putting these advantages in for today's webinar. Number one, and this is one of the biggest benefits of QuickBooks Online in general, is that it helps to facilitate seamless collaboration with your team, which is a lot of fancy words to say that it helps your team work better together. That's really it. You can invite your team into QuickBooks Online. You can work together in the same file a lot easier than you can in QuickBooks Desktop. And I'm going to show you how exactly that happens. Number two, automation features. So the thing about QuickBooks Desktop is that you can turn it off and then on again. And it's kind of dependent upon the computer that you have it installed on actually running, right? With QuickBooks Online, it's always running. And it's always absorbing information from various places, whether it's receiving information from Square or Shopify or your bank or your credit cards, anything like that. It's constantly updating. Number three, app integration. Desktop does have some app integration. If you go into the QuickBooks App Store, you can shop around and you can find apps that link various services with desktop and help you to download transactions. But there's just more of it with QuickBooks Online, and it's in many cases works a little bit better. So we'll talk about that. Number four, you can use mobile apps and devices to stay up to date. So you can actually enter transactions directly from your phone, from your tablet. You can take pictures of them. If you've got a receipt, for instance, or a bill or something like that you want to enter into QuickBooks, really, you could just take a picture of it, and with Receipt Snap, you can put it into your books. Now, of course, Desktop recently received that ability as well, but I'm going to demonstrate side by side, or at least as close to side by side as I can, the added benefit of using the QuickBooks Online app over the desktop app and how much more advanced it is to the desktop app. And then number five, it works like desktop. So if you feel like you're outgrowing desktop, or you feel like it's not quite doing exactly as much work as you would like for it to do, and you're already sort of in the market for something different, that something different might not be all that different, because QuickBooks Online is in many ways an upgrade over desktop in all the ways that I just talked about, which we'll explore further. But all of the workflows that you're used to from desktop don't really change very much in QuickBooks Online. You've still got invoices that whenever customers pay you, you receive them as payments. You still enter bills, and then you still enter bill payments. Those workflows don't change. And even though the interface is quite different, as we go through this, you'll learn that there are some ways that you can make it look very similar. So those are broadly the advantages. Now let's dive a little bit deeper. Let's talk about this first one, the seamless collaboration with your team. So there are a couple of things that go into this. And actually, one of the things that I do, one of the parts of my sort of day job when I'm not in a webinar teaching, is helping people out in a live Q&A environment that we have set up with Zoom. It's a VIP program that we run, and people can click a button and jump into a room with QuickBooks experts like me. I will admit I am a QuickBooks expert, and they get to ask us questions. And you wouldn't believe the number of people who in 2020, when they didn't have access to their data, came in wondering how it is that they could get access to their data. They were QuickBooks Desktop users. And one of the things that QuickBooks Online really excels at is the ability to have everybody on a team working together in a central location and not having to worry about trading files back and forth or hosting the file on a separate location or on a server or something like that. So let's talk about that. This gets into the collaboration aspect. Number one, it doesn't matter whether you use a PC, a Mac, or even Linux, it just doesn't matter. You can use QuickBooks Online. You don't have to install anything. You just access it through your browser or through an app that I'm going to show you later on that really helps to make the transition a little bit easier for those of you who are, using desktop and thinking about coming over. There's no trading company files back and forth. So if you have an accountant that's helping you, you don't have to give them an accountant's copy anymore. You just invite them as the accountant. And I'll show you how that works in a bit. And then number three, you can also invite your team so that everybody can work in a file at the same time. And I don't know if you've ever worked in desktop in a multi-user environment, but there's just some things that you can't do whenever you're in that multi-user mode. You got to go around the office and tell everybody, hey, get out of QuickBooks. We got to switch over to single user mode so I can change the name of this account, or so I can change this preference. And it's a bit of a hassle. With QuickBooks Online, you don't have to worry about that. Everybody can be logged in at the same time, can be working simultaneously. You can change the names of accounts, you can change the settings. And not only that, but you can also check up on what each other are doing through the audit log. So I'm going to jump out of PowerPoint. I promise that this presentation is not all PowerPoint. I know I've been in it for 10 minutes, but now I'm going to switch over to QBO, and that's pretty much all that I'm going to use from this point forward. So let's talk about those collaboration aspects. I'm going to bring over QuickBooks right here. Perfect. So this is QBO. We actually have an upcoming series of classes on the process of migrating from desktop over to QuickBooks Online. We have a class on how to import all of your data, how to get around. And this class is not that. It's not how to get around. It's more about like, what are the really cool things that QuickBooks Online can do, right? If you're interested in those other classes, you should definitely check out this webpage. I'm going to put it into chat for everybody. Because if you want to learn how to get around, like if you're looking at this screen and it's like, whoa, information overload, go to one of those classes, especially the getting started class, and you'll learn all the user interface parts. But let me show you how you can integrate users and invite users to your company file. So if you go up here to the gear, this is what I like to call the set and forget menu. And this is where you change all of the things that are sort of important to the entire company. So this is where you'll see your settings. This is where you'll see your users. This is where you'll see your sales forms whenever you set out to design them, upload your logo, things like that. So things that affect everybody. Right in here, you can go into manage users. And this is where you can just invite people into your company file. They don't need to install anything on their computer. There's nothing to download, right? All you do is click add user. You plug in their information and it sends them an invite. They confirm the invitation, they set up a password for themselves, and they have access to whatever it is that you decide to give them access to. Because, in some cases, you don't necessarily want people to be admins and be able to do everything. You just want them to be able to work in sales transactions or expense transactions. You can do that. So adding user, they can log in through their web browser. It doesn't matter where they are. They don't have to log into a server or a network or whatever. They just open up their browser and they can access this data at the same time that you can. Now, if you're inviting users and you're doing things back and forth in this one collaborative space that we have right in here in QuickBooks Online, how do you figure out what it is that one person has done rather than the other? Well, in QuickBooks Desktop, this is actually really tough to do because in Desktop, you have something called the audit trail. And the audit trail captures who edits which transactions or who enters which transactions. That's pretty much it. If somebody changes a setting or an account name or something like that, you really don't know. You got to go and ask them. And maybe it's something that they shouldn't have done, so they might not tell you. But in QuickBooks Online, it's really easy to find out who's done what. Because, again, emphasizing the fact that this is a really great collaborative space, one of the important parts of collaboration is being able to know who's doing what. You actually do have in this window also the audit log. And the audit log tells you exactly what everybody is doing. And not only that, but it even tells you when people sign in and out. Now, in this company file, I only have the one user, which is a user that you create whenever you first set up QuickBooks Online. But if you were to set up other users, you would see those different usernames right in here. And so we can see that somebody named Advantages class, which is me, logged in and logged out, and I changed some settings. If I added an account, actually that's the system administrator, so QuickBooks did that part. And anytime any customers are edited, any transactions are changed, you can see a record of that. And this window is very easy to navigate in the sense that you can choose which users you want to see data about, which date range. This information goes back 7 years. So it actually says last 7 years right there. So there's zero doubt about how far back it can go. And you can even narrow it down to certain events. So not only is it easier for you to collaborate with other people, but it's also easier for you to track down exactly what they've been doing and what we've all been up to. There's no more worry about trading a file back and forth. You just work in this space. You log in directly through QuickBooks and you just work in this file, and that's it. Now, one of the things that I like most about QuickBooks Online, though, is that not only do you get to collaborate with other people within your company, but you get a new collaborator, a new person on your team, or not a person, but a new thing on your team, which is QuickBooks itself. You get a new team member, which is QuickBooks. And this new team member can do the work that some of the other team members that you currently have might already be doing. And what I'm talking about specifically are automation features. QuickBooks can take over some of the tasks that you might be doing manually right now. So let's talk about some of those. Now, the first, and this is one of the ones that I like the best because it's the flashiest and it's the most fun, is monitoring the profitability of projects. So in QuickBooks Desktop, you do get some pretty cool job profitability reports. You don't get any graphs, and it can actually be difficult to find all of them in one place. So let's go over to the Projects tab really quick, just to show you what QBO does and how it displays it. And I'm going to zoom out a bit here. So this is a space within QuickBooks Online where we can look at the profitability across multiple projects at the same time. And this is where we can see a sort of light green bar for income and I guess it's still green. It's like a blue-green for the costs, but it tells you at a glance, all of these different these are active projects that we're looking at right now. These are in progress, right? If we would just wanted to look at the ones that we've marked as completed, we could do that as well. So this is giving us a running total. But we're looking at all of our income, all of our costs, our profit margin, how much time we've spent, start date and end date. If we had entered that, we'd have that as well. And this goes pretty deep because if I click on any one of these projects, and by the way, if you've used QuickBooks Desktop for a while, the name for this in desktop would be jobs, but it's a little bit of an upgrade with QuickBooks Online. So if you're worried about job profitability and monitoring your margins on specific projects, well, you can see how QuickBooks Online is a bit of an upgrade over desktop. So from here, we're able to see all of the income that we've recorded. This would be our invoices, our sales receipts, and then over here are our costs. These are going to be expenses and bills. And also this could include time. If you've entered time for an employee, or if they've entered their own time, if you've set them up as a user so they can enter their own time. And then also the profit. You can dig down deeper into these if you want to see the details on the materials, the cost of goods sold. Then it's going to give you a detailed report listing all of the individual transactions. In this case, it looked like we sold some inventory, so it's coming from an invoice because it's using the cost of goods sold from the inventory to put in the cost there for that project. So that's the first thing. There's a lot of good automation here because we're automatically getting graphs in this one place. And you can, if you've got a lot of projects, you can naturally search through them. You can narrow down this list, but I think it's pretty cool. Another automation feature is just day-to-day work that sometimes drops through, it slips through the cracks, sometimes gets missed by somebody, which would be, sending out reminders for unpaid invoices, or for reminding customers to look at their estimates that you send them. It's possible in QuickBooks Desktop for you to perform some of these tasks, some of these just like, everyday tasks. But in QuickBooks Online, there is a way for you to essentially set up triggers for QuickBooks Online to do things for you, for it to automatically send out reminders or to automatically send out statements to customers based upon whatever criteria you decide to dream up. And this is a feature that's available with QuickBooks Online Advanced. It's a feature called workflows. And essentially, this is where you get to bring in QuickBooks as another team member. QuickBooks can do a lot of different jobs for you that you might already have somebody doing, like following up with estimates. You can tell QuickBooks to, based upon whatever criteria you choose, like I'll just go ahead and open this up just so you can see it. You can choose to send reminders to people about estimates 3 days before the estimate expires, because you can set an end date for that, an expiry date for that estimate, or even after it's created. You've got different criteria. You can choose for what QuickBooks does whenever that criteria is tripped. So do you want it to send a customer an email? Do you want it to send you an email? What do you want that customer email to say? Well, you can customize that as well. Do you want it to send you a push notification? We'll get to that in a bit because I'm going to show you the QuickBooks Online mobile app, which is pretty cool. So it can actually send a notification to your phone that it's done this. Maybe you don't want this to apply to every estimate. So down here, you can specify what conditions over a certain dollar amount. If the estimate has a particular status, or if the estimate is to a particular group of customers, right? You can be very specific about these workflows. Now, that's just estimates. How about if we want to set up a system whereby the people who log in, those collaborators, right, our team, whenever they log in and they start to enter an invoice, maybe we don't want them to enter an invoice and be able to send it off to a customer if it's over a certain dollar amount. In desktop, you can't do that. If somebody logs in and they have the ability to enter an invoice, they have the ability to enter an invoice, period. In QuickBooks Online, you can set up invoice approvals. So if you want to tell QuickBooks, hey, look out for any customer who tries to enter an invoice over, I don't know, I'll just make up a number, over $5,000. You can set that up. You can set up a workflow that tells QuickBooks, look for invoices that are over a certain dollar value. And if that happens, that the person who records it cannot email them out to a customer, can't send it out. So this is send for approval. when this happens. Invoice amount is greater than or equal to a certain dollar value, or you can specify a customer or a location if you have multiple locations in your business. Or if the customer already has a balance, you know, you can set up all sorts of criteria there. How about reminding you to send out invoices that you haven't sent out to customers? I've seen businesses that didn't get paid on invoices because they forgot to send them out. QuickBooks Online can actually remind you to send out your invoices if you don't do it, or it can just send them out itself. There's actually a workflow in here to automatically send out unsent invoices as well. There's an automation for sending an email to customers to let them know that you received their payment. I don't know about you, but anytime I go online and I buy something, I always look in my inbox and check for a receipt. And it's not for tax purposes. It's just because, I like having that confirmation. Getting that email lets me know that they really got my money and they really processed the order. That's what this does. It tells them, hey, we received your funds, and you don't have to be the one who does that. It's no more time out of your day. You just program QuickBooks to do it. You can tell QuickBooks to also set up bill approvals. And by the way, these are features that Desktop has started to adopt because QuickBooks Online is so good at them that Desktop is having to catch up a little bit. They brought in bill approvals for Enterprise this year. If you want to get reminders about bills that are about to be overdue, that's another workflow you could set up. My favorite, though, is the payment due reminder. And again, this is something that was in QuickBooks Online first and came over to Desktop. In my opinion, QuickBooks Online still does it better, which is you can remind customers about upcoming or past due invoices on a regular basis. You don't have to do that anymore on your own. You don't have to remind somebody on your team or have that be a job. QuickBooks Online joins your team and actually does that work for you. So you get to collaborate with it just like you're collaborating with everybody else in your business. There's another thing that it can do. In Desktop, if you want to run a report, you've got to go to the reports menu. You've got to go and find the report, and you've got to run it. You've got to print it, or you got to email it to somebody. QuickBooks Online can actually do that for you. One of the reasons that you might actually set up a user in Desktop is for them to actually log in and look at reports. Same thing in QuickBooks Online. If you just want to set up a user to look at reports, you might not even necessarily need to do that anymore, because QuickBooks Online, which has most of the same reports you're still used to from QuickBooks Desktop, can automatically email reports out to whoever you choose on whatever basis you choose. So let's open up the profit and loss report. Let's just say that the owner of this business wants to get a monthly profit and loss, and let's say on the 5th day of every month, they want to see how well the business performed last month. So what I would do is, and notice how a lot of this reporting is very similar to what you're probably used to. You've got this ribbon up here where you can select the date range and the accounting method and things like that. So it's the interface is actually quite similar. Let's run this report for last month, and then I'm going to run the report. So now we've got our P&L for January 2022. Wow, that's right. That is last month. Actually, I was a little bit worried there for a moment because I didn't know if I had data in December of 2021, but it's February 1st. So okay, we're good. Okay, so we've got our report for last month. All right. Again, let's say the owner wants this report on the 5th day of every month. They want to see last month's data. So what we're going to do is save the customization. It's very similar to what you might be used to in QuickBooks Desktop, which is called memorizing a report. So we're going to call this memorize, let's say last month's P&L. All right. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to go over to reports, custom reports. There's the report, last month's P&L. Notice how it says email unscheduled. Well, if I edit this, I can turn on an email schedule. And that lets us tell QuickBooks just to send off this report to whomever we choose on whatever basis we choose. So if I toggle this on, I wanted this to be sent out monthly for last month. So we'll say monthly every 1 month. You know, if you want to do it every quarter or something like that, you could do that instead. And it'll be on the 5th day of every month. We never want this to end. And you could just put in whoever's email in here that you want this to go out to. And you can even have it be multiple emails, because you could just separate them out with commas. So if I put in my email address right in there, and then I save and close, there we go. That's set up to email out every month. That gets sent out as a PDF, but you can also choose for it to get sent out as an Excel file. And if you're wondering, you know, if you've used Desktop for a while and you're wondering, can you create reports that, you know, go into Excel files? Yes, you actually can. You can download reports as Excel files, most reports at least. And in this case, you can do it both as Excel and a PDF. So that's going to happen no matter what. We don't have to log into QuickBooks. We don't have to tell it to do this. It just does it for us. Because again, we get to collaborate with QuickBooks. It becomes part of the team and actually does work that somebody else on the team doesn't have to do anymore. And they can spend their time doing other things that are maybe more important. Another thing that you can do with automation is price rules. So in our business, actually, let me set this up a little bit. In this business, we have what are called customer types. And customer types actually exist in QuickBooks Desktop. If you use the customer type feature, they do come over into QuickBooks Online if you're looking to make the move. And for us, you can actually see the customer types right up here. This is the customers list. This actually might look kind of familiar to what you're used to in QuickBooks Desktop. It's in a place called the income tracker. It's actually based on something that's in QuickBooks Online. It was here first. So we've got commercial, nonprofit, residential. I've got a couple of others in here that are inactive, but that's how I've decided to divide up my customers, right? Commercial, nonprofit, residential. And the reason why you might do that is so you can run reports later on to see your sales for each different type of customer, but also you might have different prices for different types of customers. Again, this is totally arbitrary. You can set up customer types for whatever you want. But with QuickBooks Online, we're going to take this to the next level, because not only can we run reports to see our sales by customer type, but we can automatically change the prices of our products based upon the type of customer through a feature called price rules. And going back to that automation idea, I'm going to go over here to my gear just so I can show you where this is at. In QuickBooks Desktop, you have things called lists of customers, vendors, products and services, or items and services. Same thing in QuickBooks Online. And with price rules right here, we can automatically change. I love this picture too. People just like running around putting price tags in their baskets. Creating a price rule. I'm not going to set one up. I just want to show you this window to show you the capabilities of it. Essentially, you can tell QuickBooks to automatically decrease or increase prices based upon the type of customer. So you can create a price rule that only applies to commercial, nonprofit, residential, whatever type of customers you've come up with, and it'll automatically change those prices based upon that type. So whenever you go to record a sales receipt or an invoice, you don't have to rely on post-it notes or your memory. QuickBooks just does it for you. It's just gonna, gently nudge you towards having the right price, and it actually automatically changes it. But you can still change it on the fly if you need to. And then also right here, maybe we want to create a price rule that applies to all customers, but maybe it's like a temporary sale, like we're talking like a Black Friday sale or something like that, right? You could enter a start date towards the end of November and end it like the first week of December, and give people a percentage decrease on all of your products. Then from that point forward, whenever you go to record an invoice or a sales receipt, it'll just automatically decrease those prices or increase the prices if you want to, from time to time increase prices. So these price rules, once you set them up, they are just constantly working for you. Again, just like a person on the team who makes really helpful post-it notes that help you to do your job from day to day. So things like this can really help to reduce the amount of time that you spend and mistakes that people might make within QuickBooks itself. There's also late fees. QuickBooks Online, and this is also in desktop. I get that. Desktop has something called finance charges, but finance charges in desktop, you still have to click a button and make QuickBooks actually do it. And it's actually really easy for you to do it too many times because you can click it over and over and over again. It'll charge them multiple times. In QuickBooks Online, if you go over here, there is a setting that actually says late fees. If you turn on late fees, toggle it on, this automatically generates late fees for your customers. So if they we talked earlier about how you can set up QuickBooks to automatically email customers if they're getting close to or if they are overdue. You can warn them about the late fees in those automated emails. And then here, you set up this automation to automatically actually invoice them. Now, this can be set up once per invoice, per month, per day. You can set up a grace period. You can even apply sales tax to the late fees. Now, one of the things that desktop doesn't do when you set up these late fees is allow you to set up conditions whereby some customers, the late fees don't apply to them. But in QuickBooks Online, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and say that, let's just say that there's a $5 flat fee once per invoice. We're not going to give people, I'm just saving this so I can turn on the feature basically. I'm going to save this late fee. Now let's go check out our customers. And you get there in a very similar method to how you would in desktop. There's actually a customers list, which is where we're going right now. And I'm going to, maybe Aaron's photography studio, maybe we know that times are a little tough for him. He pays us when he can, right? So we don't want those late fees to apply. We'll click him. And there's a little tab right here. By the way, this is very similar behavior to what you're used to with desktop. Whenever you click on a customer on the customers list, it shows you their transactions. In fact, let me show you something really cool here. And I promise I will get to the late fees, but I'm just going to pop out this little tab. Notice how it has a list of customers, and then it's got their details over here, and then their transactions. I'm going to open up QuickBooks really quick. Desktop, and look at that. They're actually very similar, desktop and online, whenever you look at it that way, right? Let me open up my customers list in desktop. Look at that. It's the same layout, isn't it? We've got the nav bar, we've got the list of customers, customer details, and then the transactions. I'm going to open up QuickBooks Online again. Same layout. So if at any point you're worried that QuickBooks Online is going to be substantially different in terms of the user interface and what you're used to, fear not, because they're extremely similar to one another. And in fact, I'm going to show you a way to make them even more similar in a bit. But let's say we don't want this late fee to apply to the customer. So I'll click on late fees, and this is where you can sit and say, you know what? No, we're not going to apply the late fees to this customer. They can pay us a little bit later than normal. So that's a nice little upgrade over the finance charges that you might be used to. Now I'm going to zip right through these next couple because they're actually kind of difficult for us to demonstrate, but they're really valuable to mention because they are part of the automation sort of suite of features. One is automated payroll. So in QuickBooks Online, if you have payroll set up, and by the way, if you are converting from QuickBooks Desktop, the payroll information generally will come over to QuickBooks Online. There are only a couple of very small exceptions, and even those exceptions, whenever they come over, you'll be able to essentially get a head start. And those exceptions are like customized payroll items, that you'll have to do a little bit of assigning work to in QuickBooks Online whenever they come over, but it's really fast and really easy. But your payroll data does come over, and you'll find it here under payroll. And for us, if I wanted to set up payroll to just be automated, including paying employees and paying payroll taxes and filing payroll taxes, I can do that. I don't even have to look at this screen anymore after it's set up, because you can go up to the gear again, talking about settings and preferences and things like that. I can go over to payroll settings, and let's see. So right in here, taxes and forms, by default, automated taxes and forms. So QuickBooks just pays your taxes and files your forms. Auto payroll, by default, it's not on, but you could turn it on. Right now, we're not eligible because I haven't hooked up a real bank account to this account, because, you know, this is a demonstration account, so I don't actually have a real bank account hooked up to it. But if you did, you would see an option right in here to have employees enrolled, and you can enroll them into auto payroll so that QuickBooks just processes those payments to them. And this is where you would set up anything, you know, specific to your business that you wanted to change the settings for. This could also be where you potentially change settings about printing paychecks and things like that. So that's another automation. So they can actually, it's a machine. QuickBooks can actually run payroll for you. And then finally, one last thing. This is not an automation, but it falls into that category. Hold on. Oh, by the way, if you click on my account, there it is. Now it popped up. By the way, I mentioned inviting users to your account. One of the users that you can actually invite to your account to collaborate with them is your accountant. You can invite them for free, and you can have up to 2 accountants, or 3 if you use QBO Advanced. But the thing that I was looking for was live bookkeeping. It popped up down here at the bottom as soon as I clicked my accountant. So live bookkeeping is a service wherein, you know, if you've decided that you just don't want to do the bookkeeping, you could look into live bookkeeping, which is a service provided by Intuit, by QuickBooks. You can get a free consultation right here. Price quotes are available down here at the bottom, and this is full service bookkeeping. So potentially you could have somebody do a lot of your bookkeeping work for you, if you just want somebody else to enter those transactions. But if you decide to do it yourself, obviously you have all those automation tools that I just mentioned earlier. So that was a big one, actually. That took up quite a bit of time, but that's okay, because it's a pretty great suite of features. The next thing I want to talk about is app integration. So a lot of businesses who are using QuickBooks Desktop, or really any accounting solution in general, also use other apps, because you might have apps that are specific to your industry that help you do what you need to do. So for instance, one of the apps that a lot of businesses used years ago, T-Sheets. And of course now that is T-Sheets, it's actually called QuickBooks Time, but that was an app integration available with QuickBooks Desktop, and still is, where you could have people out in the field entering time, and that time got downloaded into QuickBooks, so you could run payroll and run reports, so you could check up on it all. Well, that's an example of an app integration. So you basically downloading things from some other source and putting it into QuickBooks. Now, Desktop has that, but QuickBooks Online has a lot more of it. And I'm just going to show you, now that's hard to quantify, so I'm not really going to try. Instead, I'm just going to show you the Apps Center over here on the left-hand side. If you click Apps, this takes you to a place where you can shop around for apps that integrate directly with QuickBooks Online. And let's say, for instance, that, you know, in your business, I'm just going to pick some of these at random. Let's just say that in your business, you use Shopify. You know, you've got a site, you use Shopify to process sales. You want a way for you to integrate transactions directly into QuickBooks? Well, there's a Shopify connector by Intuit right here that if you open it up, this is developed by Intuit, got really great ratings. And when you look at the pricing for it, it's free. If you look at apps like this for desktop, you know, they might be free, they might not be. You could be currently paying for some apps. It might be a good idea for you to shop around with the apps in QuickBooks Online and see if some of these services might be a little bit more accessible. Now, obviously not all of these apps are free. This one's developed by Intuit. So a lot of those Intuit apps are going to be, because they help to facilitate downloading transactions directly into QuickBooks. But then there's also, say, like eBay connector. So if you sell anything through eBay, let's take a look at that. We're going to look at the pricing. That one's free as well. And notice how a lot of these apps that are developed by Intuit have really good ratings, because you're dealing with an app that's developed by the same exact people who are actually designing QuickBooks. So we're not talking about, third-party applications from vendors that you might not know. We're talking about things that are developed by Intuit for this platform of QuickBooks Online itself. Now, there's a lot of these, and I mean a lot. there are hundreds, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So it's a pretty cool thing just to be able to like search in here for an app that you already use to see if there's some way to integrate it automatically with QuickBooks Online. And you can actually look at this list outside of QuickBooks. You know, if you're still using desktop and you just want to check out what's out there. So this is the QuickBooks App Store. And you can, hold on. Oh, there we go. If you go to this site right here, and I can put it into chat, for those of you who are already using some apps and you just want to say like, hey, I wonder if QuickBooks Online has an app for that thing. Like, does QuickBooks have an app for DocuSign that can download customer signatures? The answer is yes, it does. Does QuickBooks Online have a way for me to automatically integrate expenses through Expensify? Yep, it's got that. This is a good place to just search for them. Shop around, take a look at the apps that are available. And these are things that integrate seamlessly with QuickBooks Online. And when those transactions or customer data, if we're talking about a CRM, things like that, whenever they get updated in that other app that you use, they also end up in QuickBooks. So if I go over here to banking, app transactions, I can actually see a list, not right now because I don't have any hooked up, but you would be able to see a list of transactions downloaded from that other source. So if you're processing transactions through Amazon Business or Square, there are apps for that. There's also the ability for you to download transactions directly from your bank and from your credit cards, which obviously you have with QuickBooks Desktop too. But it's also here, which is nice to see. In fact, the latest redesign that QuickBooks Desktop received looks an awful lot like the online banking that's been available with QuickBooks Online for years. So a lot of those ideas were taken directly from QuickBooks Online. Now, in addition to the apps, there's also something that, again, I'm not able to demo, but I think it's really cool, which is QuickBooks Commerce. Now, with QuickBooks Commerce, basically, you're taking data from multiple places. So maybe you get paid through Shopify, through Square, through Amazon, through eBay, WooCommerce, all these places, right? And you want to download them all into one place. That's what QuickBooks Commerce is for. It's a way for you to sync all of those things into a single location, which is QuickBooks Online. So you can monitor your financials and also monitor inventory levels and all of your different sales channels all in one location with QuickBooks Commerce. Again, I can't demo it, but I mean, we're kind of running out of time anyway. So even if I could, I don't think I'd be able to demo very much of it. So, I really wanted to get to this. Yes. I'm gonna get to this because I want to show you something that I think shows in stark contrast the difference between desktop and online. So we talked about app integration, which is your ability to download things into QuickBooks Online from other sources. Let's also talk about mobile apps and desktop. And I'm actually going to be using my phone right here. Desktop recently got a mobile app. This was in 2021, and I like it a lot. Actually, I think it's really cool. It lets you download receipts into QuickBooks Desktop. So this is my phone that you're seeing up on the screen. Or am I sharing my screen? Yes, I am. Good. Okay. So I've got two apps on here, and I'm going to show you this one first. This is the QuickBooks Desktop app. All right. So this is what was introduced last year. Open it up. So let's see what we can do here. So QuickBooks Desktop says it right up there at the top. We can enter receipts. It's cool. Take pictures of receipts. You can upload and take pictures of bills. Cool. And you can also attach documents. It's good. It works really well. I wrote a how-to video on it. And it works really well. So I've got nothing bad to say about this app. I like it a lot. And it's really nice to see that Desktop got one. But I can't help to draw a pretty stark contrast between it and this app, which is the QuickBooks Online app. There we go. So this is what the QuickBooks Online app can do. You can create invoices. You can stamp receipts. You can take a look at your customers. Let's scroll a little bit. You can track trips. So if you want to track the mileage that you have going back and forth to jobs, not only can you enter a trip, but you can actually have QuickBooks, the app on your phone, monitor where you're driving through GPS coordination, and it can figure out the trips that you're taking. You can send estimates to clients. You can enter invoice payments. You can enter bills, expenses, vendors, sales receipts. If you want to do online banking and approve transactions from your bank and enter them into QuickBooks, you've got that right here. We've got a receipt right there. I'm going to scroll down. We can look at all of our invoices that we've sent off to customers that are unpaid versus paid over the last 30 days. We can see all of our expenses, all of our bills, upcoming bills, account balances. This is all from my phone. You can also do it from your tablet. And there's even more. So I press that little menu right there. Here's all of this. Maybe I'm out of the office and I want to send somebody an estimate. All, there we go. All, and then right here underneath sales, I'll select estimates, and I can actually fill out an estimate from my phone and send it off to a client. You just have to press that little plus button right there. Again, I like the desktop app. I've got nothing bad to say about it. But when I look at what's available with QuickBooks Online, I can't help but tell that there's a pretty big difference there. So if you want to have greater access to your data through your apps, through your mobile devices, tablets, computers, what have you, there's really not any comparison there, I think. The very last thing, this is a big advantage to me. Whenever I first learned bookkeeping, I learned it as a desktop user. QuickBooks Online wasn't really a thing. It didn't really exist as it currently exists. So I learned desktop, and I was actually tasked by the company that I work for to write our QuickBooks Online training, the first one that we were going to make. And I was reluctant to do it just because I was so used to desktop. And I just thought, well, desktop does it so well, why would I ever want to move over to QBO? And back then, desktop and online were very different. But over time, what I've seen happen is for online to sort of take on certain attributes of desktop, and desktop to take on other attributes of QuickBooks Online. So where they really are getting significantly closer to one another. And I showed you earlier, side by side, that desktop online or one after another. They really are quite similar in a lot of ways. And one of the things that I like best about all of this is that these days, if you are making that move from desktop to online, it's no longer anywhere near as scary as it was 9 years ago, whenever I first did it. Because if you've got a QuickBooks Desktop file, all you have to do is select company, export your company file to QuickBooks Online. Most of the processes are the same: invoicing, receiving payments, sending out estimates, progress invoicing is there. And in this process, you can actually set up a completely new QBO free trial right through here. I want to try it first. Click try it first. It's going to ask you, do you have an online account? If you don't have one, just answer no. And you can set up an email address and a password right here and actually create a completely new free trial. Your data from desktop goes into online. It takes a couple of minutes, up to an hour. You'll get an email whenever it completes, and you get a free trial, and you just get to test it out. And nothing bad is going to happen to that desktop data. It doesn't go away. It's still there. And you get to try out QuickBooks Online. It's not going to ask you for a credit card or a debit card. It's not like Netflix or Hulu or whatever. They don't ask for payment details and then start charging you after 30 days. There's none of that. You just get a free trial, period. And you could try it out. And it really is similar to what you've used to. If you've been using classes to classify transactions, accounts, products and services, these things are all there. You can import it directly from desktop. And if you're going to use QBO Advanced, which is one of the versions of QuickBooks Online, because there's Simple Start, Online Essentials Plus, and then QuickBooks Online Advanced. If you're using QBO Advanced, there is actually something that you can install onto your computer if you want to. And no, this isn't a web browser. This is an app that I've installed on my computer called the QuickBooks Advanced Desktop app. And if I go over to my, where are we? I wanted to go to map view. Where's my map view? So I just want to, there we go. This is QuickBooks Online. This is QuickBooks Online Advanced. Notice how we have a little nav bar over here on the left, and then we've got all of our shortcuts here in the middle. Does it look similar to anything you're used to? If you're used to desktop, this is what desktop looks like. And if you're using QBO Advanced, and you've got that QBO Advanced installed on your computer, this is what QuickBooks looks like. Very similar. The icons are in the same places. The workflows are the same. Some of the stuff over here on the left-hand side might be different just because the icon bar in QuickBooks Desktop is customizable, and this one isn't. But it's very similar. And not only that, but one of the things that you can do in desktop, not everybody does this, but you can, is you can switch back and forth between different companies. If you have multiple QuickBooks companies on the same account and you're using this platform, this QuickBooks Online Advanced app, you can click the drop-down arrow over here at the top right, and you can actually choose between all of the different companies. And you can have different companies open in different tabs. One of the things that I've heard is difficult, and in fact was for me, for people who have used desktop for a long time to sort of get over whenever they make that move, is being able to have multiple things open in different tabs. Check this out. Click on little add a tab right here. If I want to, I can have an invoice open in this tab, and then I can go over here and I can go look at a customer's balance, right? I can go over here and look at this, look over here at my invoice. So I can go back and forth, very similar to a browser. You can also do this in a browser. I don't know, I like it in the app. So I just wanted to show you that because it's a pretty cool thing that can help to get you acclimated to what you're used to with QuickBooks Desktop. Nice little addition. So hopefully you've enjoyed this class. Hopefully you feel a little bit more informed about what it is that QuickBooks Online can do and why you would want to use it. And what I want to do is invite you to the other upcoming classes that we have on desktop migration. We have a series of classes coming up. Let's see here. I'm going to put these into chat. This has been the Advantages class. We're also going to talk about preparing for and moving. It's an entire hour-long class on how to prepare your file and move over. How to get around once you are moved over. Money in transactions or sales, money out transactions, online banking, payroll. We've even got a class on sales tax. Hopefully you'll join us for more in the future. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and happy QuickBooksing.